Hey guys, welcome back to this week's pull here on Comic Relief Cast. I'm your host Jake.
And I'm Josh. Hey Jake, got a quick question for you.
What's that?
Is Batman's files really that secret?
No, they're...
What are we reading?
And guys, because there was just so much coming out this week, we just couldn't possibly cover everything. So what we decided to do was just consolidate this video down to the higher profile books, the things we think people are going to be looking for a review on, whether or not you think, hey, I want to know if I should pick this up. So we're going to get obviously to you early, or if you guys have come here after Wednesday, then you might have already picked up your books. But we wanted to focus on the higher profile books and the ones that people might not be so sure on, and give you our thoughts on that, see whether or not you feel like picking it up. And I just have to say, Josh, I'm very excited because, a little off topic, one, our Halloween Comic Fest was a huge success here on Saturday.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I just currently today got my Infinity War Thor hot toy figure in, and I'm very excited about it.
And you're slacking.
Yeah,
you're
I know.
Slacking when it comes to Thor. You're sitting here saying that life hit us and that there's so much to read. I think it's just you just want to play with your Thor.
I do want to play with my Thor.
Yeah, that's okay.
All right, guys. So what we're going over today in this video is Batman Secret Files #1, Avengers Halloween Special #1, What If Magik Became Sorcerer Supreme #1, Justice League Dark, Wonder Woman: The Witching Hour #1 apparently, Drowned Earth #1. And Heroes in Crisis #2, and Hex Wives #1. So with that, getting right into it, Batman Secret Files. It's got multiple writers, multiple artists on it. Tom King is the first one in the first story, but this is an anthology book. Josh, what were your opinions on the one?
Well, I do. There's a few stories in here that were quite enjoyable. I do like the price on this a lot better than I do like when they normally do books like this. Normally it's about it's about $8 to $10 usually. So I do enjoy the price on this. I feel like it's a little bit more bang for your buck that way. There was a couple stories, like with most of these books, there's always going to be at least one story that does not really sit very well with you. For the most part, I feel like all the stories were pretty good. There's some that were better than others, but that's what's to be expected in a book with a bunch of short stories with a bunch of different writers and everything like that.
Right. Yeah, it's an anthology book. It's a lot like that Cursed Comics Cavalcade that came out a couple weeks ago. You know, Personally, I did actually enjoy this one more than that.
Yeah, and it's also like $5 cheaper.
Yeah, it's half the price basically. I did actually enjoy the very beginning Tom King one, but for me it felt like something that he just cut out of a story. It was like, I kind of want to put this idea out, so I'm just going to shove it in this book, which it's fine. I wish it would have gone a little bit further with the idea. Like you said, there are a couple that I'm not huge with, but my favorite one was actually, ironically enough, the one with Bobo at the very end. That was my
Can't have
favorite.
a podcast of talking about DC Comics without mentioning Bobo.
I think we'll mention Bobo a few times in this
maybe.
podcast. But yeah, I think the Bobo one was my favorite one. It was at the end. I think that one had the most humanity to it, and I think it had the most resonance with me. But with that, what would you grade Batman Secret Files #1?
I would grade it a solid 3.45 limbos.
Okay, I'm going to go a little lower. I'm going to go 2.8 limbos. I enjoyed it, but it's not something that I'd be out in a rush to get.
Yeah.
But if it's a light pull week for you, I can see picking this up and enjoying parts of it.
Which if a lot of you guys, a lot of our listeners, a lot like our regulars, your week is going to be slightly light because DC is mostly putting out a bunch of the Hanna-Barbera one-shots.
Right.
And they're not really putting out a lot of their continuous
Yeah, DC
stories.
and Marvel both really don't have their ongoing stories with new installments this week, aside from a few things.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to Avengers Halloween Special, another anthology book. It's got several writers, several artists on this, but it is Marvel's kind of Halloween comics cavalcade thing that DC did a couple weeks ago, just in time for Halloween. And you and I have very differing opinions on this when we initially talked about this. I actually really, really like this book. And again, for the price point of $4.99, same price as the Batman Secret Files. Personally, this is something I would rather pick up over the Batman Secret Files, having read both of them. I just thought this one had some really cool, interesting ideas in it.
I think they had some pretty interesting ideas in it. My problem is there's a few stories in here that I feel like it doesn't start really picking up until right when it's about to end. And it kind of just
like
bums...
that first Tom King one in Batman.
Yeah,
Secret
exactly.
Files. Yeah,
it's just like that's the only thing that kind of bums me out. The first story dealing with Matt Murdock, it was a great story.
Really
I love that one.
Yeah.
It's eerie. The one that deals with Captain America being unfrozen, that was a good one.
The one with Dr. Doom, I thought was a pretty good one.
Dr. Doom was a good one, but once again, that was one where right when it got to the end, it's like, now I want to read more of this.
But I like the idea that they explored in that one, which is why I liked it so much. Yes, I'd like to see more of it. I'd like to see that kind of compounded with some other elements, but I liked that idea. I liked that perspective on Doctor Doom.
Yeah, I like the perspective, and that's the reason why I want to read more on it. But it's like right when it starts getting to this peak, it starts hitting this moment, then that's when it just goes, it hits this peak and it just stops.
Well, it's an anthology. It's a collection of short stories.
Yeah,
so,
I get that, but I'm just saying when it comes to short stories, like and when it comes to short stories, I want to have an ending. And with that one, I felt like it was lacking an ending. It was like it was a to be continued, but it gives me an end.
Right. Okay.
And that kind of bugs me.
Yeah.
And then also the Frank Castle one.
Oh, you just ruined it, man. You spoiled it.
It's not spoiling anything.
It's spoiling it because when you first open it up, you don't know what character it's about.
Oh, you get it. You get the gist of it pretty quick if you know.
It
some
took me
Punisher
about
stuff.
2 pages to guess it.
I think what it's supposed to be, like what it's supposed to become at the end, that's supposed to be the surprising element. Is what this story is supposed to be kind of based around.
Yeah, you spoiled it.
No, I didn't spoil it.
All right. Anyway, well, this one I liked it a lot more than Batman Secret Files. And the interesting though is my least favorite one was the last story in this. I really liked the 4, I think, that before that one, and I liked the last one in Batman Secret Files. So it's like a switch thing for the same price. But if I'm comparing the two, the thing that I would want to pick up is Avengers Halloween Special. It's fun. I think it has more of a horror feel to it than anything else. It does have something that feels festive and Halloween-like, and it does feel like there are some, kind of old ghost story type things in this book.
Yeah, it's definitely eerie. To be honest with you guys, I'm really tired of the short stories. I feel like I've read a lot of these in the past couple of weeks. But I mean, I would definitely, one thing I would want everybody to do is keep an eye out for the variant. The variant's done by Zaffino, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. It has Captain America on there, like a Franken Captain America. And I definitely would keep an eye on that one because I feel like that might be a pretty big book by the end of the week.
Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and rate this one. I'm going to give it 3.3 Limbos.
I think you're going to be a little surprised by my rating.
I might.
Because of how I was talking about it. But actually, I'm not too far from you. I'm at 3.
Okay, well,
yeah, 3 Limbos.
So you would say you liked it more than the Batman Secret Files
Batman was
overall?
my Batman was a little bit higher.
Oh, that's right.
But the only reason why my
yeah.
Batman was a little bit higher is because a lot of the Batman ones I felt like had an ending. A lot of the stories had a close. These I feel like did not have a whole lot of closure.
Okay, that first Tom King one did not have an ending.
I know, and
all.
that's one that bums me out.
Yeah. All right, moving on to What If Magik Became the Sorcerer Supreme by Williams, Andrade, and O'Halloran. And this is it's not really a what if. It's not your typical what if. This kind of feels like it's Magik's it's her background, it's her origin story, but it's just like if Doctor Strange had come into her life at a certain point, what route would her life have taken? So it is kind of a what if, but it doesn't feel that much like the outlandish, crazy what ifs, like what if Thor was raised by frost giants kind of thing. It still does seem like Magik's kind of on the path that she's on now, so it doesn't feel too divorced from all of that. But I will say I really dug this book, and it's not because, and I know you had an issue with it thinking it's a little bit like it's not enough of a what if for me to like it, so that kind of let you down. But if you're just reading it as a story, if you're reading it as just like, okay, I'm going to just see where this story goes, I really like it, and I think it's because there's really good dialogue here. There's really good friendship happening, and I think there's just a really good intimate story being told here, and that's what I clung to. And not so much the what if part, but the intimate story relation between Magik and Stephen Strange.
For me, it wasn't really so much of the fact that it didn't seem like a what if. It's one aspect that kind of bugs me a little bit. It's one that kind of bugged me with the X-Men one, but it doesn't bug me enough to dislike a book. My biggest problem is how it ends. I just feel like it is very misleading.
I don't think it's misleading. This is how
I feel like with the way this book is, that you should have gave it a different title.
Okay, well,
I don't want to go through and ruin too much of it.
No, it's not ruining it to say this is Doctor Strange grooming Magik to become one day the Magic Sorcerer Supreme. Okay, well, get off of the semantics real quick. The story itself is actually a good story. If you're sitting here expecting what if she's acting Sorcerer Supreme right now, yeah, it's a different story. But if you're learning how she becomes Sorcerer Supreme instead, and I think that story was well told.
I feel like the story was a good story. It was definitely has the intimate moments that you were talking about, and I do enjoy that. I'm surprised that you wasn't dissing on the art style.
It didn't bother me that much.
But I mean, I'm not really. It's with the what ifs. I'm expecting if it says what if this it was to be this. I'm expecting that. This is like it was to me. It felt like it was a way to get me to grab this book, and
See, I look at it as if basically what do we watch Doctor Strange doing as the Sorcerer Supreme? Nothing. You still read him going about his life and the obstacles he overcomes. If we were just read Magik as the Sorcerer Supreme, it would be nothing but her just battling demons the whole time, and that's something I've seen 1,000 times. Not maybe Magik, but just a sorcerer battling
I get that.
otherworldly demons. This is a good story because it's about two people connecting, and one being very reluctant to do that, and Doctor Strange being the mentor. But I really like him as in a mentor role because he's
too.
not your typical Doctor Strange that you're used to reading. And as far as the art goes, it actually reminds me a lot of Tim Sale's art.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I like this so much.
yeah. I mean, I'm just saying. It says, "What if Magik became Sorcerer Supreme?"
Oh God, you're getting hung up on semantics.
No, I'm just saying. It's just like, to me, that is another way of like kind of misleading because the thing is in this whole book, spoiler alert, it never becomes the Sorcerer Supreme.
She's being groomed to be the Sorcerer Supreme.
Then change the title.
That would be a really annoying. What if Magik was being groomed to be the Sorcerer Supreme
What if
one day in the future?
what if Magik was trained by the Sorcerer Supreme? What if Doctor Strange?
Because that could still happen. You just got to give it a title. I mean, who cares? It's just the title of the book.
I don't know. And then even the cover kind of makes you think that she's like, this book is supposed to be, I guess what I was expecting was in the beginning of the book, you're going to see her being mentored by it, but the whole book is her being mentored. And I get it, you're doing it so you can show this relationship, and I'm not saying it's a bad story. It is a good story. It's just, I feel like it's misleading.
You just seem so butthurt by the title of the book.
It's the equivalent of when you pick up a book, and if you're a person who is trying to find something new to read, and you pick up a book and it has all these different characters on it, and you pick it up and none of those characters are in it. It's pretty much the same thing.
I disagree. And one thing I really liked about this book too is that there's a really good telling of how the magics work, of how a Sorcerer Supreme becomes a Sorcerer Supreme, the different types of magics they need to master, and where they maybe shine and where their shortcomings are. I thought that book did this really well in just one issue. I think this is in my opinion, one of the better What If books from Marvel out of the 5 or 6 that they've been doing.
I think it's not a bad one. I mean, I put it before the Ghost Rider one.
And I liked the Ghost Rider one.
I did like the Ghost Rider one a lot, but I put it before the Ghost Rider. I definitely put it before the X-Men one. It's just, I mean, I just find it to be misleading.
Okay, well, I'm going to say as a story, if you want to get over your hangups with the title of the book, and just as a story, it's a really good What If, and I'm going to go ahead and give this one 3.75 limbos. I really liked it.
I'm at 3 limbos.
Okay, moving on to Justice League Dark, Wonder Woman, The Witching Hour by James Tynion, and the artist is Marino, and this is obviously still continuing the Witching Hour thing that we've seen going over with Justice League Dark, and Wonder Woman, right? Was it Justice League that had a Witching Hour tie-in?
Yeah, it's Justice League Dark, Wonder Woman, and then
just
before
the
all
Witching
this,
Hour.
there was a Wonder Woman, Justice League Dark, Witching Hour.
Right. Okay. So it's the Drowned Earth that's going over with Justice League. But anyway, so this is I don't think this is really the conclusion of this story because it says it's going to continue in Justice League Dark, but I think this is the overall conclusion of the Witching Hour mini saga. And I have to say, this is how you do mini events. This is what I want from my mini events. It's not too many titles to have to go back and forth from. It's not spanned a crazy amount of issues. There's a lot. It's very dense. There's a lot you get in this one single book. And I'm telling you, for $4.99, this is probably the most bang for your buck as far as how much time you're going to spend with the book reading it. And I am loving what Tynion is doing with the DC Magic world here. He's given us such an in-depth look and idea at not only how magic operates, but the origin of magic in the DC universe, and it's not something I ever expected from this book. It went above and beyond its duty for me, and I think the Witching Hour mini-series, or this mini arc, whatever you want to call it, is one of the best things out of DC all year.
I agree. And once again, with like this is how you do an event.
Yep.
This is how, not just a mini event, but this is how you do an event. You keep it short, easy for everybody to kind of jump into, but at the same time, give them plenty of information. And you also are being smart with how you're telling your story. You have it laid out. You could tell that he's laid this out and planned the whole thing to be the way that he wants it to be. It's not, a childish act of coming up with ideas that just seem like they should be in cartoons. And it's also
Snyder.
Yes. Granted, Tinian is doing parts of the Drowned Earth stuff.
Yeah.
But that's one thing. It's like, this is smart. This is new. It's fresh. It's great. The whole storyline's been great. Justice League Dark was great when it first started up, and then this whole Witching Hour event is even better. And I do feel like this is an event that a lot of people should definitely read. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, and I think this is something that's kind of going under the radar of a lot of comic readers. I mean, I do see in forums, on pages that they are talking about this series, but it's not getting as much attention as I think it truly deserves, because this is something I don't think anybody saw coming in being a great, well-written event, something that's fleshed out. It's really good world building. That's exactly what this is. And what's great is that the ending of this book leaves you going, I can't wait to read more and for this thing to kind of come back around. Eventually it's going to be touched on again, and I love the way it ended. This is one of my favorite things I've read all week, and I'm going to give this one 4.4 limbos.
I'm actually at 4.5 limbos.
Okay, so we both agree it's really good.
It's really good. It's and like with Under the Radar, it's starting to pick up.
It is.
But only the Justice League Dark aspect, not the event itself. It's the Justice League Dark, the first couple of issues, if you go back and try to get those, they're doubled in price, if not more, by now.
And all right, I'm going to continue on the James Tynion thing for a second. I'm going to go talk about Drowned Earth #1 really quick, because I know you aren't really reading it. I have been. It's by James Tynion and Howard Porter. And again, this is a good example of Tynion knowing how to world build. So basically, the premise behind this book is that our Earth, our world, has gods of the ocean. Poseidon was the god of the ocean here on Earth. But other worlds had gods of their oceans. Any other ocean world had its own god. And what happened was, there was a character in here long ago during Atlantis, when it was still, it wasn't the sunken city, but it was like the pinnacle of civilization, millennia ago. One of the characters then, back in that time, they got a hold of the Earth, the other gods from the other planets and stuff, and they invited them here, but they ended up being more of like an invading god types and stuff. So it's a war amongst like ocean gods, and it's a really cool idea. I don't love this book, not like the Witching Hour, but the idea is there, the world building is there, the concepts are there. It's been crossover with Justice League and Aquaman now, and I think even Suicide Squad might have had a tie-in. I might be wrong, but I think they did. And so, we've been getting kind of the prelude, but this is kind of the big thing. The real detriment, in my opinion, to this book is people being touched by the ocean water turn into ocean creatures, mindless creatures, and I think that part is stupid. You got to put the world in danger. I get it, so that's kind of what they came up with. It feels kind of like a half-baked idea. But other than that, what's going on with Miro, what's going on with Black Manta, Orm, and Aquaman, your core people that you really want to follow, it's going really well. And Tynion also knows how to write Batman, and he knows how to write Flash. That's what this book also shows me. I'm actually really digging this. I don't like it as much as The Witching Hour, but I will say I do like this enough to give it a 3.2 limbos.
Really?
Yeah.
See, for me, with that event, that makes me upset is just like the idea that it's really smart at times,
and then it
it has something really cartoony.
Yeah.
It's just that's what bugs me on that. But I'll lead off onto mine. I read Hex Wives by DC. It's from DC and Vertigo by Ben Blacker and Mirka Andolfo.
Okay.
Yeah,
I know the name Andolfo sounds familiar.
Yeah, and this just follows a group of witches, and it follows them throughout time. They're very murderous, gruesome, gory witches, and it just kind of follows them throughout time, and then they finally find a way to stop them, but it takes until you get into like Leave It to Beaver 1940s time period. And it's sorry, it's a lot like, it kind of reminds me of The Craft.
Eddie Haskell in there?
What?
Eddie Haskell in there anywhere?
No, he's not. Sorry. Okay, sorry, Dave. But it kind of reminds me of like The Craft mixed, but
They really fucked with me as a kid.
Yeah, it's like The Craft mixed with like Hocus Pocus at times, but it's not really. I mean, it doesn't really get a little goofy until towards the end, because what ends up happening is you go through this whole book, and these witches, I mean, they're just like killing people. I mean,
it's also adult oriented. I saw some nudity in there.
There's nudity. It's for mature readers. There's nudity. I mean, and it's gory, and it's very gory actually. And then all of a sudden, it just like flips flops, and it's all these witches, and they're like suburban wives. And
Feels like an Archie book or something.
kind of, yeah. And then like they're talking, like they're spinning like sitting there talking about cakes, like baking cakes, and how, and you're just like, I just watched this girl like impale 4 dudes' heads on a stick, and then now all of a
So
sudden
it's like
she's
the
like,
Stepford Wives a little bit.
yeah, kind
Okay.
of. And it's good. I really enjoyed the artwork in it. The storyline was good. I do. Once again, this is going to be one of those classic moments where Josh goes, this book was definitely written for a certain kind of demographic of person, and it's not written for me. But I'm still able to enjoy this one. Unlike usually when I say that, it means I don't really enjoy it. I still enjoyed this. I can see me picking up a second issue, and I'm going to give it a 3.45.
Oh wow.
Limbos.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think your girlfriend Kate? Do you think she'll like this?
And that's the main reason why I read it, and that's the main reason why I'm buying it, is because she was the one that overheard it and read it. I think that she will like it. I think that she's not going to like the gore. She's kind of prudish when it comes to that kind of stuff. But I think that she will like it, especially the whole aspect of what it's supposed to, the underlining message it's trying to get across.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And then finally, guys, the moment you've all been waiting for, the heavily criticized and polarizing book amongst the comic book community, Heroes in Crisis, issue number 2 came out by Tom King and Clay Mann. And Josh, what'd you think of this issue?
It was interesting. It was definitely interesting. I thought it didn't go to the direction I definitely thought it was going to go.
Right.
I thought it was going to kind of hit on what happened, and this actually just kind of continues off of what exactly where the other one was leading off. It doesn't go back and doesn't explain a whole. I mean, it's slowly explaining that stuff, but not a whole lot. There's moments where they are added. There's comedy added to it. I understand.
Kind of weirdly placed, but it's
weirdly
also
placed.
dark humor.
Yes.
So it kind of fits, but at the same time, you're like, what's going on? I don't know that I should be giggling.
Yeah, it's weirdly placed. You got to think though, we're dealing with Booster Gold and we're dealing with Harley Quinn.
I almost wanted to make Skeets our rating system.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Oh man, I wish we did that.
And that reminds me, for your code phrase, I have too many sandwiches.
You do. They're just overflowing.
So many sandwiches. Guys,
So
you can
many
come in here, 20% off any book that's not on your pull list this week.
Yeah, but I mean, Clayman's art, when because he's actually sharing the spotlight with another artist on some pages.
Yeah, I think pages 16 to 18 were a different artist.
But Clayman is definitely killing it with the art on this. And at first, I was kind of like a little annoyed, and I know this is going to lose a lot of readers. It's the first issue already lost a lot of readers and a lot of people wanting to follow this event, and I feel like this is just going to put salt in their wounds because, spoiler alert.
No, don't spoil anything.
I won't spoil anything. Oh, but I want to.
Nope.
Oh man,
I don't want to.
Bruce Willis has been dead the whole time.
I don't want to be the channel that people go to for spoilers. If you want to find spoilers,
go to our Twitter.
There you go. Yeah, yeah. James Gunn will find you.
Yeah. But I mean, for overall, I actually oddly enjoyed the book. I didn't think I was going to, and while I was reading it, I felt like I shouldn't be enjoying it. But I did enjoy it for the most part. I feel like this is going to still be a pretty solid event.
Okay. For me, this is exactly what I expected this book to be. I was like, I know issue 1. I really liked issue 1. I did. It is because it didn't feel like a typical Tom King book. And I went, you know what? I know exactly his tactic. He's going to do a book that doesn't feel traditionally Tom King, and that's going to rope in the readers. And then he's going to get back to his classic Tom King tropes and stuff like that. And that's exactly what this book does. It gets back to the Tom Kingness. I'm going to give it that
Tom Kingness.
Tom Kingness. And this is one of those books, a lot like the KG Beast issue of Batman or some of the trial issues, where it's just there's a lot of interjections in between of things that are not pertinent to the story, but it's just characters giving a kind of a confession, and it really interrupts the reading and the pacing of the book for me, and that is always a detriment. I understand what he's trying to do here, but I kind of just want to get on with the story at this point. With the last issue, this being a monthly title, I want to know what happened from the last issue. I want to start seeing that story play out. I don't need pages wasted on character interviews, and as much as I like the character interviews themselves, as a whole with the rest of the story, I'm not enjoying that, and it's hard to it's kind of hard for me to grapple with both the idea that I do like the character interviews, but I don't like it in the story right now that I'm reading, because what I want is more information. If you're going to this book looking for a little more information, you will get it, but you're not going to get a satisfying amount of information.
Yeah.
And that was my biggest problem with this book. But I love Clayman's art in this. I mean, this dude is at the top of his game. I know I say that often, but Clayman is just killing this book, and it makes it a much more entertaining read when you're loving what you're looking at. So I will give it that. But this book, it is lacking a little bit of stuff from the last issue that I wanted to see play out a little more. There is a great moment in here with Barry, though. That is, I think, the highlight of this book for me is when we get to Barry Allen and Booster Gold's interaction. It's a great part of the story. It made it worth the read, but yes, this book is going to continue to piss off a lot of longtime readers. But I will say, hold off, read the entire event, see how it plays out. It may not play out the way we're thinking it's going to, but as of now, yeah, it looks like it's going to keep polarizing fans. But I will say, too, overall, I enjoyed this issue.
I do enjoy it. And the interviews, I do agree. I feel like they're overplayed. I think that a good way to start off each of these books, and where I would be okay with it, is if you start off with a confession interview and you end with a confession interview. But instead, he's putting like there's like four different interviews in this. If they just did the first one and they did the last one, I'd be super content.
What
I'd actually like
it, though, is that we got the Trinity. The Trinity all got an interview.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing is, the book starts off with a Poison Ivy one, and it feels super out of place.
It does feel out of place. But I think that it's going to pan out.
Yeah, it probably will.
I think it's gonna pan out more than what you think.
Yeah. So with this one, I'm gonna go ahead and just give it a straight 3.5 limbos. I can feel myself wanting to go a little lower, but there are certain moments I'm thinking about. I'm going, I could give this book a little higher. So I'm gonna settle right around the 3.5 limbo area and say it's a solid read. But it's what I thought it was going to be, but it's not what I wanted as a whole.
Yeah. See, I'm actually a little bit different than you on this one. I'm at 3.5 limbos as well, but I keep wanting to push myself higher, mostly just because of that Barry Allen moment that you were talking about. I got chills. So that definitely wants me to nudge up to like 3.75.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to stick at 3.5 right now. I guarantee if I reread it or just sit here and think about it a little bit more, or probably talk to you about it more, a lot of times that ends up happening, I'll end up liking it more than what I think.
I will say Booster and Skeet's interactions, they're fun to read, but they're kind of that dialogue that feels a little misplaced as far as the atmosphere
it's the humor,
of the book.
And I feel like a lot of people who've never really read a whole lot of Booster Gold is not going to pick up on that, and they're going to fucking hate it. But the most part is, if you remember how Booster Gold is, you got to think like, okay, this humor is... It feels misplaced, but it really isn't misplaced.
It's in keeping with that character.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, that is all we have for you this week. We thank you so much for listening. If you stay with us this long, make sure to hit that thumbs up button if you liked what you heard. Hit the thumbs down button if you didn't like what you heard. Go ahead and comment below your thoughts on any of these books. If you've read them, let us know your thoughts on them. If you're looking to pick them up, or if we swayed you one way or the other on a book, let us know how you feel. And then, of course, subscribe to the channel, guys. We are always looking to grow the channel. We really appreciate the support we've been getting, and we will see you guys next week.
Skeet.
Take care.